Lost Springs, Wyoming. Coal trains once gave a patch of Wyoming prairie a bank, schools, shops, and a future. This is Ghost Towns of America, and today we're exploring Lost Springs, where 6 residents and a handful of buildings remain beside the railroad that outlived the mines. On the open plains of eastern Wyoming, a handful of buildings stands beside a railroad that still carries long freight trains across the state. This is Lost Springs, an incorporated town with only 6 residents counted in 2020. It is not empty, and it is not a ruin. Its unusual survival makes the place more revealing. Lost Springs shows what can remain when the enterprise that built a community disappears. But municipal life continues on the smallest possible scale. The town lies in Converse County, about 30 miles east of Douglas and near the boundary with Niobrara County. Short grass, sage, ranchland, and broad weather dominate the setting. Railroad workers were in the area by the 1880s. According to the traditional explanation, they gave the place its name after failing to find springs marked on their survey maps. The story is often repeated, though its earliest documentation is uncertain. What is certain is that the railroad provided the fixed point around which Lost Springs developed. Coal gave that point a larger purpose. North of town, the Rosin and Sunset mines opened into beds of soft, variable coal. A federal geologist visiting the field in 1910 described coal that weathered rapidly when exposed to the air. The same report noted that the Wyoming and Northwestern Railway had completed a standard gauge connection between the Rosin mine and the Chicago and Northwestern line at Lost Springs. A narrow gauge tramway also linked the Sunset operation with the Rosin facilities. For a brief period, coal moved from the hills to the main line through this tiny prairie settlement. Lots had been offered by 1901, and Lost Springs incorporated in 1911. Families came for mine and railroad jobs, while dry farmers and ranchers settled the surrounding country. Local accounts placed the peak population near 150, although some recollections give higher estimates. A small commercial center took shape. It included a bank, general store, post office, newspaper, blacksmith shop, lumber yard, hotel, pool hall, and a town hall. The first hotel burned in 1911, a reminder that growth on the plains could be fragile even during the best years. The railroad station connected residents with a much wider world. In 1926, a young teacher named Catherine Snyder Notal arrived on the night train during a hard rain. She later remembered the station office lamp as the only visible light after the train pulled away. Her school occupied a former parsonage behind the town hall. Lost Springs maintained a 4-year high school, and it graduated classes in 1927 and 1928. Those details turn a population number into a community of teachers, students, shopkeepers, miners, and families. Lost Springs also served people beyond its town limits. The post office and stores supplied scattered homesteads. Railroad freight supported the nearby mining district and helped move supplies connected with the Lance Creek oil boom to the north. The surrounding ranch economy endured longer than the early coal rush, but it could not replace the concentration of jobs and traffic produced by the mines. Lost Springs depended on several thin economic threads, and each one was vulnerable to distant markets and difficult local conditions. The coal venture proved especially short-lived. Local histories record the mines closing in 1921 and the spur railroad being abandoned in 1922. The coal was not well suited to a large, durable industry, and the settlement lost the activity that had justified much of its growth. The Citizens State Bank closed in 1923. The fading Lance Creek oil boom removed another source of business before the end of the decade. By 1930, Lost Springs had fallen to about 65 residents. The 1940 census counted only 38. Decline did not happen in a single dramatic moment. Families left as employment, schooling, and commerce contracted. Businesses shut their doors one by one. Buildings were removed, altered, or lost to weather and fire. The mine railroad north of town vanished from regular use, while the main railroad remained. That contrast still defines Lost Springs. Trains continue beside a place whose original reason for shipping coal disappeared more than a century ago. Some institutions persisted. The town retained its incorporated government and town hall. A general store and post office building served residents for decades, and the old bank building found later uses, including as an antique store. The 2-story Lost Bar became one of the community's most recognizable structures. A small jail also survived, though it long ago ceased serving its original purpose. Conditions and uses can change, and several structures are private. They should be viewed respectfully from lawful public areas, without entering buildings or crossing property boundaries. Across from the former Presbyterian church site, Prairie View Cemetery preserves another part of the community's record. Henry Crabb donated land for the cemetery and became its first burial in 1913. Local research has identified 61 burials there. Some deaths came during the influenza era, while others reflect the ordinary hazards and losses faced by rural families. Volunteers have worked to clear vegetation, identify graves, and reconnect names with descendants. The cemetery is not a curiosity. It is evidence of the families who made Lost Springs a home. The modern population has sometimes been misunderstood because tiny counts magnify every error. The 2000 census recorded 1 resident, a figure locals disputed, and the 2010 count rose to 4. The 2020 census counted 6. Wyoming's municipal directory still lists Lost Springs as a mayor-council town in Converse County. That legal continuity matters. Lost Springs is often called a ghost town, yet people still live here, hold meetings, maintain property, and carry a civic identity established in 1911. What disappeared was not the town itself, but the economic system that once made it much larger. Soft coal, a 9-mile mine connection, dry farming hopes, and oil field traffic briefly supported a full set of community institutions. When those supports failed, population ebbed across decades instead of vanishing overnight. The surviving buildings, cemetery, railroad, and town government now tell a precise story about endurance after contraction. Lost Springs matters because it complicates the usual ending. A boomtown does not always become an abandoned shell, and survival does not always mean recovery. Sometimes a place continues with only a few residents, preserving both public life and the physical traces of an earlier economy. Beside the active rails on Wyoming's open plains, Lost Springs remains small, inhabited, and incorporated, a town shaped by the coal trains that stopped coming home.